Tony.
Yes, sir.
Darren's back. Can you believe it?
No.
Ta-da!
Darren, how are you, man?
I forgot what you looked like for a second.
Oh, wow. We see each other outside of this, so that's weird.
It's been a long time.
It's been a week.
How have you been?
Good. Real good.
Good. Awesome. Well, welcome to another edition of the CCA California podcast. Good to be with you. Good to be with you, Darren.
Thank you,
It's been
sir.
like 6 months?
Probably close to it.
Seems
It's
like
good to be
it for
back.
sure. Tony, how are you?
Oh, I'm just dandy, Chris.
Yeah.
Just catching up.
When are we not catching up? That's the real question.
Never.
Yeah.
We're always 10 steps behind, but a million steps ahead all at once.
I know what that feels like. Well, without further ado, we've got a great friend of ours. We've got Oliver Solis from Fishing Syndicate in studio with us. Oliver, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks for coming
Last
down.
time we did this, you had him as well.
Yeah.
Total coincidence, right?
That was about the
Darren?
last time you were on the podcast, too, which was about 2
Well, I
years
think
ago.
the last time we did this, it was in my house, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It was in
That's been
your
a long
house.
time.
Yeah. Oliver, things are busy for you, man. How you been?
They are.
Yeah.
Been busy.
Yeah.
Busy and busy and
Busy in a
busier
good way.
every day. Yeah,
A lot of good stuff.
a lot of good stuff going on. Growth, life, family, work, shop, development, testing, growing. Yeah,
It never ends.
never ends.
Never
You have
ends.
a grand reopening happening on Sunday?
Yeah, so grand reopening or open house for FS. We've moved locations because we needed more room, and we've yielded the old space to a GT. So he could be one of our dealers. GT Custom Works.
How excited is GT for this?
That kid, he deserves it. He's put in the time.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude, and with all the changes happening in the industry and the growth, basically it was time to let him take off on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really doing anything for FS itself, anyways, right? He was so focused on just doing custom work, custom wraps for people. GT gets at least 5-6 orders a week.
That's a lot. That's a lot of business.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take on random
And-
rods.
And we cracked the whip on him to keep up. We feed him when he sits. Here's your lunch, GT. Somebody feed him in the mouth so he could wrap.
Yeah.
So he had talked about just having a little tackle shop, and since he wasn't wrapping any factory stuff, and with dealers growing and Turners coming on board.
That's a big deal, by the
That's
way.
yeah.
Congratulations.
It is to us.
Congratulations, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, some people have a negative side, see a negative side to it, but you could do that with anything. And so with that and dealers literally requesting that we don't sell direct because that's what the industry is used to, right?
Yeah.
We started the company and the business model was totally different.
Yeah.
We're gonna sell direct. We're gonna do mostly custom work. But then when people started requesting that these rods be made available, we had to go overseas to make a factory lineup. And all along we've kept developing. We're over 50 different blanks or rods now. And so as we opened up more and more dealers, some tackle shops said, hey, we're not going to carry your product until you stop selling direct. Because you're going to compete with us. Mm-hmm. And we're not really competing. The factory stuff is all black. And from the time I started that factory lineup, all black, we haven't sold one piece direct. Mm-hmm. We committed, I'm a man of principles, and so we're not going to sell direct, period. And we've pissed off some people that come in there and I want to buy that black one. It's like, you have to go to a dealer.
Yeah.
Because that's just the commitment that we made.
Was that kind of a tough pill to swallow?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We're not going to cover that today.
Yeah.
We want our dealers to be happy.
Of course.
Right. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about the industry when it comes to that, and but I understand, right? when you buy bulk or wholesale, I understand why prices have to drop so much. One of the biggest things that I cared about was making sure that the products stay affordable, right? And so we've had to swallow that pill to keep it affordable, give dealers the points that they require to have to sell your product. But that goes for everybody. Okuma, Accurate, Penn, all the other rod companies. The discount on the rods is not as heavy as the tackle is, but it's higher than what the reels are. So, they require the dealers or the tackle shops require a higher rate, discount rate to carry the product. And it's all business, right?
Yeah.
That's what they need to stay in business. And as a manufacturer, what you look at is, how much ground can you cover? What's your footprint? Even with the web nowadays, one thing I learned about the industry is anglers, people like to feel, touch, pull on it before they buy it.
Bend it.
Yeah, bend it. So by having dealers, and that became more accessible. And so, they get their wholesale discount, which I'm not going to disclose today at least.
You don't want to show that to the world?
No, I don't think they would appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, so let's kind of start at the beginning here. How did you get into rod building for, just basically, how did Fishing Syndicate kind of come about? Because it's been 7 years?
7 years. It's a long story.
Yeah.
But before I started the company, I had already been developing my own blanks. So the guy that used to, and I started fishing like everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Beach, pier, Yetis, Walmart rod, then go to Turner's and buy the $50 combo, rod and reel. And as you learn to fish, and you meet other people that know how to fish.
Right.
You start learning that there's something better out there, and so you upgrade. You go to the $100 combo, right? And,
Yeah.
And then the $200 combo.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're spending $1,000 for a combo.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Right? Who isn't? And it's fine. It's just part of it. It becomes a passion, right? So you spend that kind of money when you take this pastime, and it becomes a passion, right? Guys go long range fishing, and they're spending about $600 to $800 a day to be on a 10-day trip. When you go on a 10-day trip, you're going to spend $6,000 easy. And so, why do guys do it? It's a passion. And I know people that used to fish overnight, and then they went long range for the first time, and they said, "Okay, I'm done. Going long range only, and I'll try to do 1-2 trips a year, and I don't need to go overnight." Everyone fishes differently. I still enjoy overnight fishing. Take me to the islands.
Yep.
Fish from 6 to noon,
Yeah.
and then I'm out.
You like sleeping in your own bed?
Yeah. Well, I do, but I just like getting back home the next day.
Yeah.
I love island fishing, calico. You're in the kelp line and you're fishing, whether it's a jig or lead and squid or plastic, and calico doesn't pick you up, but then that thing starts to sink, the bait starts to sink, and next thing you know, there's a yellowtail swimming by or a sea bass, and now it's game on.
Yeah.
Nothing more fun than a yellowtail on a bass rod.
That is true.
That and a squid, extra light or light, fishing 20-pound test.
Yeah.
You got 20-pound yellowtail trying to take you to the kelp line. You can only pull so hard because you're using a graphite rod, literally a bass rod.
Jared,
Yeah.
you've been in that camp before.
All the time, man.
Dude,
Love fishing.
It's how you
lightweight.
fish.
I love
it's
fishing
a
lightweight.
culture, man.
It is.
It's a culture, guys. Some guys don't understand that. It's like till you do it, you don't understand. It's like fishing sand bass in the structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another culture I love. Just go twilight, 4 hours.
I got some good places in Long Beach,
You
man.
know what I mean?
Sand
That's
bass
our
good
whole
luck.
coastline, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. From you go down to Ensenada, even San Martin, and all the way up to Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Lots of grounds where you fish the bass in the structure. So, anyways, back to that question. So before I started the company, I had already been developing my own blanks, working with Cosmos Sports in Koreatown. So I got introduced to Cosmos by a mutual friend, Bobby Martinez, who fishes, the bass tournament. And I used to fish with Bobby 3/4 day out of Marina del Rey. Learned a lot of stuff from him. And, Cosmos, in my opinion, has been one of the best custom wrappers there is. In fact, I look at everybody's work and I, judge it by his
Compare.
work. Yeah, compare it. And, I've always told GT and others, if the day you give me the Cosmos quality, then you're it.
Mm-hmm.
He used to he took his time getting things done, and he was not cheap.
Yeah.
This guy's very expensive. And a lot of guys out there do good work, right? Darren Dohe, Moon, and others like them, Bill Haven, Salty Dog. So at some point we became friends with Cosmos, and him and Bobby, we used to work on stuff, and I got into that realm where he would design blanks and buy 50 blanks, and Bobby and I would get like first dibs. Bobby would get first dibs, and I would come into that, and that's how we started designing stuff, man. Most of it graphite stuff for bass, and so the passion grew. And Cosmos actually used to push me because I was one of his good customers. I go get a new set of custom rods every year. I'd sell the ones that he made me this year at the end of the season, and recycle that money. That money would never go back to the bank, so my wife wouldn't know. I show up with cash, here you go. Make a new set. And so I used to bring him a lot of business, promote him. Like the guy, pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
And so he kept on pushing me to start a company. He just wanted to, because he saw how much, I could sell, right? And like, I could make you rods, I'll give you 20% off, and then you go sell. I'm like, I don't need 20% off. I don't want to sell rods, dude. Leave me alone. I want to enjoy fishing. Should have never listened to him.
Right?
And so, I got to the point where I said, okay, fine, let's try this. And so when we started the company, he was custom wrapping all these rods that we were selling. And then I met Bill Haven because Cosmos couldn't keep up with the demand that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bill Haven came in. And as most people know, we were custom wrapping Phoenix rods, blanks, I should say, United Composite blanks, and rain shadows. I knew the three owners. I had fished all three brands. So, I would get the blanks from them, from Bill Batson at Rain Shadow, from Randy over at United Composite, and from Jeff over at Phoenix. And actually, it was Phoenix, it was Caesar, who I, had the relationship with.
Yeah.
We'll get to more on Caesar right now. So I would get blanks from them, and I would have Cosmos, and then Bill Haven, custom wrap them, right? Pay them for that.
Mm-hmm.
We'd sell them. So if you look at the original Fishing Syndicate rods from 7 years ago, you'll have the Fishing Syndicate label on the front,
Yeah.
and then on the back, we used to put on what blanket was. So whether it was a Rain Shadow, a United Composite, or a Phoenix.
Right.
So from there, which I thought was a good thing, right? Because I was giving those companies credit. Like, we're just custom wrapping their blanks.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that. And so from there, several myths came out, and
Myths.
theories of, the syndicate rods. I've heard all. Someone said we were knocking off United Composite blanks. I was like, well, how the heck are we knocking off composite UC blanks when
We're giving them credit right
we're
here.
getting the labels on there? It's like UC blah, blah, blah. Like, okay. And then there was the Fishing Syndicate rods are just glorified Phoenix blanks. Like, oh, wow, that's a good one. Yeah, how are they glorifying Phoenix blanks? Well, because we put the label on there so people will know
Yeah.
what it was. And then the one stigma that stuck was, the Rain Shadow blanks. Like, okay, well, So years have gone by, and within 6 months, I developed our first blank ourselves, which you two have. It's the 900M composite, 20 to 50.
Fished it last week. It was awesome.
And that thing is super light, super strong. Oh, Darren, you don't have one? You don't know somebody.
You went fishing last week?
Was it last week or the week prior?
You went the week prior?
Oh, he went fishing twice without
Week
you now?
prior. It was
Week prior.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the week before that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The week before that was with him.
There you go. That's what he's
He
having.
got invited to that.
Hey, I outfished him on that
You
one.
went
so-
last week? That's why he didn't
Oh,
invite you.
my
You
That's
caught
what it
one
is.
nice fish that day, Darren. We had
God, and
quantity.
his mouth has been running ever since.
I know. I take one picture.
I was going to say the
One
video or a picture.
Nice 4-pound calico.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's right. That's
Well-
when you guys went with that Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun
nice.
time.
Luckily, Karma bit him right in the ass after
Oh,
that.
No, that was prior.
Oh, was that prior?
I was running my mouth. And it's running my mouth and I'm reeling my lure at the same time. Go to take another cast. As soon as I'm done running my mouth, it's
Zing, pow.
bird's nest, and there goes my $20 lure.
nice. That's awesome.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that stigma stuck. So we developed that 900M, and then we went to test it. It's a yellowtail rod, 20 to 50, right? 30, 40, take your pick. It's got enough of a flexible tip where you could cast a jig, so it's dual purpose.
Nice.
That's why that whole series is called the all-purpose. It's fast enough to cast baits. It's slow enough to cast jigs. Is it the same as a E-glass or S-glass jig stick? It's not. It's just enough for you to cast a jig. So you have to make those adjustments, because you're dealing with the composite rod. So anyways, my partner at the time, Haas, he went fishing down the Toronado. They just went to the island. It's a yellowtail rod. They say, hey, put on a Solis 7X and, just keep casting it. They're heading back and the bluefins go off. Big spot of bluefin comes up.
Naturally.
And of course, he puts the rod out there, right? And we know bluefin, right? From 20 to 200.
Yeah.
The one that picked up the jig was 150.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good
Wasn't-
test.
Wasn't nice. It was a heck of a test. They got video, they got photos. And so you get off the trip and he calls me and goes, dude. And I was like, oh man, don't tell me the rod broke. I didn't know what they had caught, right? Because I always had that fear.
Yeah.
That's out of my control. I design the blanks. I know the flanks. I ask how to roll them. I can't control the resin that is being used, and I can't control how long they bake it. You underbake a rod, you overbake a rod, it's gonna break.
Yeah.
It's gonna delaminate, break. And so that process is out of everybody's control, even the person rolling them and doing them, right? You got a bad batch of resin, there's nothing you do.
Yeah.
And you won't know it's a bad batch of resin till the rod goes out in the field and people are fishing it. And so that's what happens to a lot of companies that, all of a sudden they start having breakage. It's a bad batch of resin, or the ovens are not, calibrated correctly and they're being overbaked or underbaked. And so he's like, dude, I got a 150-pound bluefin. I'm like, what? I said, on the rod? He goes, yeah, man. I was like, holy moly. I said, so, of course, I think he's pulling my leg. And I said, you got video? Proof? He goes, I got video and photos. I'm like, cool. Can't wait to see them. That rod was bent in half.
Oh.
And Tom Veloz was the deck boss in the Tornado. He put the wood to that fish. I found a misrecall because it's been 6 years. I think they killed that thing in like 15, 20 minutes
Wow.
on a yellowtail rod, 150. But you know deck cams, right?
Yeah.
They tightened that drag. He was using a Tranx 500 PG, 65-pound braid, 50-pound top shot. So, he was able to pull hard. And the way he was pulling on that video, every time he would bend that rod, I was like, oh, gosh, he's going to break it. He's going to break it. And you've pulled in those rods, Tony. I could lift you up with those rods.
Yeah.
That's not you there, but, the way that rod was bending, I was like, oh, my God, we have a good thing in our hands.
Yeah.
And then from there, the development took off, and I just started putting money into it. And that was the first rod, that we actually developed. And then we just kept on expanding. I went let's go light and let's go heavy on the same blank, same andro,
Yeah.
same makeup, just back off of materials to give me the different powers.
Well, both the rod and also the brand has completely taken on. You must be thrilled with how really just the whole industry and how the whole like anglers themselves just have embraced Fishing Syndicate all these years.
Yeah, not quite thrilled yet.
I mean, there's always
I'm happy to see it. I mean, honestly, I take a lot of pride in it. You guys know that.
yeah.
But I'm such a perfectionist that this is still not where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm being.
What's it going to take, or where is it that you want it to be?
So I think branding in Southern California with all the good rod companies that have been here for decades,
Yeah.
it's hard enough, right? I think we're getting into the mix. We're sort of getting there, and we've made some right moves. Creating that 10-foot rod for Danny Wade. Creating some of these things that we've developed. The S class when no one else in the industry has S class. But it's an uphill battle, right? We still have the people that like to talk trash about us, and it used to upset me when I was like, I have fun with it. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Look at us now.
Exactly.
We've been called the joke of the industry, and so I guess we're still the joke, but joke's on them now.
Yeah.
Joke has been around for 7 years.
Joke's been around for 7 years. I was actually told that the company wouldn't be around longer than 2 to 3 years. 3 years was the max they gave us. And then when we got to 5 years, I was like, okay, we're still around, right? Let's keep moving forward. It's a big business plan that I've had for a while. I'd like to establish ourselves pretty good here in SoCal. Become the number one company, sure, why not, right? Gotta shoot for the stars and land on the moon. But I like to take the brand national, and hopefully over the second decade go global. It's a very ambitious plan.
I mean, that plan's kind of coming to fruition though.
It's slowly.
That's what I was just thinking, yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the shop in La Habra. Look how small it was to start, and then it just basically has grown into what it is today, which, I mean, I know we'll get to it, but this Sunday you're having basically a big party in the parking lot.
Pretty much.
To celebrate.
Yeah.
Which is totally your style too, by the way.
You don't say.
Yeah, that's part of the brand right there.
Like, yeah, man, it
is.
shows.
It's a culture. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what we push. And that's been the culture of the company from the inception. And since before, the guys that know me, the officials with me in the past, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You gotta have fun with this, right? It's a sport that you're supposed to enjoy. I don't understand when people go on boats and they're being grouchy and just not having fun.
That's when I'm the happiest.
Yeah.
Being miserable, like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, leave that at the landing. Leave that in your vehicle when you get out of there.
Yeah, it's
Come and enjoy being out here.
When we went fishing with Benny, we were supposed to go to
Clemente. Yeah.
but the weather was just horrible. So, and you could see it in Benny. He didn't want to make the call, but we
gotta keep you safe.
Well,
of course.
100%. But
And you adjust.
we fished inshore and had a blast.
I had such a fun time.
It was
Yeah.
it was
yeah,
so
there
fun.
were no qualms on
None.
my end. I was chilling.
A day on the water should be way better than a day at the office
Yep.
or a day on land, period. You're out there having fun.
Exactly.
And to me, it's not about how many fish you keep or catch. It's just being out there, man.
And the
Yeah.
camaraderie is,
Yeah.
it's just out there with like-minded people, and it was just a lot of fun.
And it has nothing to do with beer
No,
or the boat burger. Right.
It's true. Those are just pluses. Yeah.
But that alone, right?
yeah,
That alone, to me, it's just being out on the water, period.
yep.
I mean, I had a great time. We didn't really catch too much with Benny, but I had a great time because it was the first time in a long time where I got out. I mean, it could have been better had Darren not gone, but it's okay.
There you go.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Right. So we'll see where it all goes. I mean, I'm committed to the brand, as you can see, and
Oh yeah.
the people that
You have a lot of people committed to the brand as well.
yeah, there is. We could give a long list of names.
A lot of loyalty there.
Yeah, a lot of loyalty. It goes both ways, right?
Yep.
Loyalty is a two-way street, from people internally to customers, clients, friends. But a lot of people don't know, like what I started doing prior to going, public with this, right? I was working on the business plan, basically 3 years before we started. And every year I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it this year. And then something wouldn't quite line up, I back off. And that gives me more time to save more money,
Yeah.
So when we started, there was quite a bit of change in the bank ready to invest, and that's why we went full speed. And then people have seen it grow, and people have invested in the company. There's a few investors that have put the money in there, and they're happy to see where it's headed, and they know my business plan, so they know that I'm just getting warmed up in a sense, and so so many people that helped to get started. And Caesar was one of them. While he worked for Phoenix, him and I. Because I knew him from his days at Taddy and CalStar, and I was a CalStar guy before anything else.
Been around a long time.
Been around for at least 30 years, and I don't want to date him, but maybe even 40. Ask Eric from Eric's Tackle up in Ventura. Yeah, he'll tell you. And so, I went to him, and he said, Oliver, you shouldn't do this. I said, no, I want to try it. And he goes, no, you're going to regret it. I said, well, let me regret it. I just want to try it. Yeah. And so he helped me, get things in place and get started. And when we started the company, again, we were custom wrapping Phoenix blanks. And then I told him, I said, hey, one day I'd like for you to join the company. And like, dude, he was not so far away. I'm happy where I'm at. I said, I'm just saying, And then now we talk about it. Because now he's working for us.
That's awesome.
Now he's
Talk about full circle.
Yep, full circle. 7 years later.
Not to mention Caesar's got a reputation amongst the industry that's been spot on.
Yeah. The guy, he's responsible. He's a man of principles like me, and I like his stand. He will not sell something he wouldn't buy. So when you're in sales, you have to have confidence in what you sell. Yeah. Right? You have to not just like the product or the owner or whatever. You have to trust it so that you could then go sell convincingly. Other than that, you're just a used car salesman. And that's something that, we want a lot in this company.
That makes sense.
Tell people, just promote enough, market enough, but don't overdo it. Yeah. And if the sale walks away, it's okay. Let them go make, their rounds, they'll come back.
I think one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest things you can do, either as a boss or a business owner or an executive or whoever, is you surround yourself with good people and you hire the best out there. And you basically, you can even go as far as saying you hire people that are better than you to do it. And I'm not just talking about Caesar, but all of the team at FS, everyone, there's not really a bad egg at all. Everyone is so passionate about what they do, and they do it well for you, for the brand, for the brand. FS. Yeah.
And I tell them, it's not about me, it's about the brand.
Yeah. I
work for the brand. And so if I work for the brand, lead by example, everybody else got to work for the brand. Yeah. And
they're proud of it too, because I don't think there's ever been a trip that I've never been on where I'm not seeing an FS shirt or an FS hat or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or a rod.
Or a rod.
Yeah. I was trying to think back.
There's a rod on every trip.
Every single trip I've been on since 2020, I've seen an FS rod on the boat. Yep. I've probably pulled on hundreds.
Yeah. And you'll get the people that buy one and they're like, oh, not my style. I don't like it. I understand. Can't win everybody, right? Can't win them all. Right. But the loyal customers, they'll buy one. They'll be like, oh man, this is lighter and stronger than whatever I use. And then we have people just switch over entirely. Oh yeah, I'm getting rid of my blah 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 and this and that and the other, and I'm switching over. Yeah. We don't. we don't push that. I mean, people have to fish what they like.
Mm-hmm.
And people sometimes fish what they fish just out of loyalty. Friendship, I respect that too.
Speaking of loyalty and friendship, you've been involved with CCA. You've been a huge supporter ever since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely since I've been around since 2018. And I mean, you're continually asking, what could I do and all that. Good news is, Darren and Tony, he's part of one of us now. He's on our state board,
He is.
which is good. We got him.
Yes.
We got him.
When
Hook,
was
line,
it
and sinker.
last year you got brought on officially, or was that earlier this year?
I think last year
It was
you
last
were
year.
elected
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
board. I don't know if you wanted that public, by the way, so I just was going out on the limb there. But ultimately, I mean, we've been up to the shop plenty of times, and if not for good conversation, but you really, really care about CCA. You've put your money in. You've put so much promotion in and all that, and we can't thank you enough, man,
And I
for
appreciate
being
that.
a sponsor, a big sponsor of CCA.
I care about people, first off. And then I love the sport. And so when I, got a full understanding, somewhat, I guess, of what CCA was doing, that's when I reached out and I said, what do you guys need from me? How can we help? Right? I was never did my wildest dream thinking, I'll be a board member. It wasn't part of my plan. In fact, you remember how long it took for you guys to convince me in this sense. I don't know, guys.
Took a little while. I'll bet.
I don't have time. I'm busy. What does it entail? What is it going to require of me? I don't like to commit to something that I'm not going to be able to dedicate time and energy to, because I don't half-ass things.
Oh, and I recognize that, and it's a big deal.
Yeah,
that you're a part
it's a
of
big
it.
commitment, and so after talking to you and Jim.
Jim, yeah.
Sorry, Jim. Too many names to remember right now. So,
So many of us.
yeah, Jim said, hey, we just meet. I think he said every quarter. Most meetings are in Orange County. They're in the morning. We serve lunch. I'm like, oh, okay, sign me up.
It's really the lunch.
Right on, lunch. Got it. It's okay, sounds good. He said, you've already been contributing a lot. Because I was talking to Jim a lot when we were doing the radio shows with Sergio, I think, the Chronicles, who's also been instrumental at, getting Fishing Syndicate to where it's at. I don't know that we have a bigger fan than him, He literally fishes the stuff because he likes the stuff. We don't pay him. There's no contract, He just loves fishing the rods. And he's one of those that I said, hey, go test this rod for me. Just give me an opinion. Okay, I'll just take one. He was very standoffish. Freaking guy. Oh, by the way, that's my favorite thing about people. Freaking guy.
Guy.
So he was very standoffish at first, and I said, look, I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want to get an opinion, Okay, well, I'll just take one. I said, you can't just take one. Give me an opinion on one. You got to take a whole series.
Yeah.
Take the light, medium, heavy. He just wanted to take the heavy. I was like, no.
Yeah.
You take all three or you take nothing. He said, okay, fine, I'll take all three. I was like, just give me an opinion, It was the end of the season. He came back and said, can we meet? I said, yeah, sure. Came over for lunch, went across the street and said, I would like for you to make me a whole lineup. Oh, that went well.
Yeah.
So I really like these rods. And, took off from there. We were just starting out. We were, 6 months into it? 7?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's around the time I had just developed that 900M. But
How many rods did you have, 6-7 years ago? Because you must have at least 40 different blanks that you
yeah,
work
now
with,
we're up
plus.
to over 50. So, keep in mind the first 6 months, which is custom wrapping, Rain Shadow,
Right.
United Composite, and Phoenix. And then within the next 3 months, we had the 9-foot light medium heavies. And then we went to develop the 7.6 offshore, because at that time we were custom wrapping the United Composites and the Rain Shadows. And the boats said, hey, we need this at 7.6. Because, I'm friends with some captains, right? And I put sample rods on their boats so that they could test them for me and give them some feedback. And they said we need this at 7.6. And so I worked with the engineers to develop that, the next three, which is the extra heavy 2X and 3X at 7.6. And so by the next year, we had that. And then we started getting into the inshore graphite, the inshore composite. So it's been nonstop. Like every year we release a set of rods. And I like doing them in sets. I won't do like, just a one-off.
What kind of work goes into all that? Just releasing a set every single year.
Besides a lot of time, energy, and money, a lot of sweat and tears.
Yeah, I mean, is it
Sleepless
just
nights.
you just have an idea that pops kind of in your head, or you kind of have a specific market?
So it's all of that,
Yeah.
right? Ideas in my head, and then specific fisheries, right? So you talk to someone like a Darren, conversation gonna go straight bass. Yes, what would we like in a bass rod? And chances were it was one,
Right.
because you have different baits, and so you need minimum 3 rods. And you get away with 2, but really you need that third one, right? And so then you start looking at what actions you want for each of those rods, because it's all dictated by the bait that you're gonna cast.
Live bait, plastic.
Mm-hmm. Then you have to decide where you personally want it to shut off, right? Do you want something that's slow, fast, extra fast, medium fast? And then that's just your personal likes, right? Now you gotta think of the public.
Yeah.
What are you gonna put in their hands? Because to develop something for yourself, that's easy.
Not everyone likes an extra
Not
fast.
everyone likes that,
Yeah.
and
I love an extra fast rod.
right.
They're fun.
But you have to know how to fish an extra fast rod.
Yes, you do.
So if we you go on a boat, as I always tell people, right? This has sort of been, I'm gonna give away some secrets here. This is the way it's always been, with the development team and the investors. You get on a boat, and there's 20 to 40 people. And you look around at those people, and everyone's at different levels. You have the 4 guys who know how to fish, 10%, right? They're throwing a jig at the bow, right? That's you guys that know how to fish.
Yep.
Then there's the guy that comes in with, we were all there, right? The Walmart rod,
Yeah.
2-piece, and drop it with 2 hooks, drop into the bottom. And so that's your higher end and your lower end. And then there's everyone else in between who's using rods or just starting to use rods, and they may not be using the right rod for the application, right? And so those guys are learning from the guys that actually do know. And so you, as a business, you have to target all that range. That I call it the 80%ers, right? And that 80%er has, a wide variety of people. There's the guys that, like Darren, that already fish and know how to fish. And then there's the guy that
That's very generous of you, by the way.
I'm being kind to him because he's across from me. And he's kicking me under the table.
Sorry about that.
So you have to look at that 80%, because the 10%ers are not going to really buy from you. They're used to their old ways, right? And
Do you find the 10%ers buying a rod, do you find it as kind of like it's a very particular purchase of what they're looking
yes,
for?
and it's a huge win when they do.
Yeah.
Huge win, right? Let me finish at 80%, and then we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
So the 80%ers, and again, this is all business, right? For those of you guys that want to start a business in the industry, don't do it. But if you do, if you're dumb enough,
Sound advice.
if you're dumb enough like me, here's some advice. So you're gonna have to look at that 80% range, and there's gonna be the guys that just got rid of that Walmart rod because it broke on them when they were, winding up a red snapper,
Yeah.
right? And they go to Turner's and they say, "Oh yeah, I know that I'm about to try the Walmart." And again, I've been there, done that. So now you want something better. You just don't want to spend, even if you could spend it, you just don't see the reason to spend $300 to $500 on a rod.
It's an investment.
It's an investment,
You're not using it every day.
right? And you're just starting going on the boat, and you don't know if you're really gonna like it. So you go by, someone on the boat tells you, "Oh yeah, don't go to Walmart," right? That's for you to fish the pier and the jetties or the beach. If you're gonna come on the boat, you want to at least go to Turner's. That's the Turner's referral. And over there, you buy a rod for $100, right? You go buy a rod for $100, and you buy a reel. And you're like, "Man, I just spent $300. could have gone fishing with this 6 times. Right? Could have bought 6 Walmart rods.
But how long is that $300 unit going to last you?
That's it, right? So, but you don't know that yet.
Exactly.
So now you go next trip, you enjoy yourself. You're like, oh, that's what they meant. So then, 6 months, a year goes by. Now the next guy next to you is fishing a better rod, costs $300, and you see that, and he's struggling less than you are, having more fun, and you're like, hey, you mind if I look at that rod? Oh yeah, feel it, pull it, because we all like to show our rods.
Yeah.
Pull on it,
Naturally.
right? So put a min on it.
It comes.
Tony.
You couldn't help yourself.
It's just what I get for being a chick. Honestly, Oliver, I've heard it all, and nothing surprises me anymore.
We'll get to the 10-foot rod in a minute. So, guy goes, oh yeah, dude, like, where'd you get that? Right? Because maybe they didn't have it at Turner's. And guy goes and I'm telling my story, by the way, right?
Yeah.
I met Bobby, and Bobby's like, you don't want to use that. Go see Cosmos. And he upgraded me to, the better rod. Next thing I know, I'm spending $500 a rod, every year, several of them. But, that's how you develop the passion. And so for a business, you look at that. And so that's always something I've told whoever I hire for marketing, whoever invests. So you own a boat, and you look at that 8%. You don't worry about the 10% that, been fishing for 40 years, 50 years, and they know better than you. They'll be quick to criticize a rod, but they can't design a rod.
Right.
And yes, I'm sort of calling them out, or just, stating the fact. But, it's great when you get a Danny Wade comes to you and says, that 90J you had me to test? I really love that rod. The best rod I've ever cast at Oliver. I'm like, huh? The best rod, best ever. I'm not kidding you. He goes, the perfect weight, the perfect action. I mean, this guy's just raving about it. I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
He goes, if only it was a 10-footer. Okay, sounds like a plan. Danny Wayne wants a 10-footer.
Yeah.
So I started developing, and then he calls a couple of friends, mutual friends. Jose Ortega, who used to be at Fleeker back in the day, he gets involved, calls me up, comes to the shop, and we talk about, the patterns that we're going to use. And he's sharing ideas, and, we're on the same page. I'm like, yeah, we're going to extend it. Same mandrel, same blank. Let's extend it. Let's change the action. Let's back off on the power. So all these things go into, how you design that blank. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I said, dude, like exactly what I was thinking. We backed off about 8 inches on that shut off because we extended it 12 inches on the back end. And the reason, and I know there's people that disagree with this, and that's okay. We could agree to disagree. If you're not a rod manufacturer, I suggest you start manufacturing rods and then give me your opinion. We rate rods according to the power, the action, right? And there's a handful of people that don't agree, and that's okay. But when you extend a rod, you're basically giving it more power. And it's simple math, and that's physics. And so if you leave the same action you have on a shorter rod by extending it on the back end, you're completely changing that rod. It is no longer a slow or a medium action. You're making it faster. And for those of you that don't understand that, fast means how quickly the rod shuts off at the tip. And so a fast rod, when you bend that tip, it will shut off right away around 6 inches from that tip. It stops to bend. It just gets hard. It just won't bend unless you put it under load. A slow rod is one that when you pull that or you bend that tip, it takes forever to shut off. You just keep pulling, it keeps going down. You're like, when is this thing going to shut off? And if you go back to old rods from the old days, straight E-glass, they don't stop bending. They go past your handle. You feel it around the butt. And so, that's another argument of what is better. Is a faster rod better or a slower rod better? And what's better is what fits you. How you fish, your techniques. So I have someone that says a slower rod is better than a faster rod. Why? Well, because he doesn't like to use a rail. So he wants to hold that rod at a 45-degree angle in his hands. And a slower rod hurts him less. Okay, I'll challenge that. But a guy that wants to use a rail wants a little faster rod so that it could kill the fish faster. And so a rod is basically, it's a lever, right? If it's too fast, it'll hurt you. If it's too slow, it'll hurt you. And so what do we use levers for? Is to lift things. So when you're playing tag of war with the fish, which is what you're doing when you have a fish on, if you have a rod that is too fast, that fish is going to hurt you because it just shuts off too quickly. If you have a rod that's too slow, that's advantage to the fish because now it's going to jerk you around. And so what is a perfect shut off? I mean, everybody's different, you know. Everyone's different. We all fish differently. You know, same reel, same rod, different line every time. You know, I see guys fishing, you know, light rod, 15-30, that's a 30-pound rod. Well, to me, a 15-30 is a 20-pound rod, right?
Yep.
Makes
I
sense.
mean, but again, there'll be people that argue, you know, and that's okay. You know, it's perfectly fine. All I know is that a 4x4 is not good to go on this, you know, on a speedway. And I also know that a sports car is not good for you to, you know, trailer your boat. You flip them around and you're in great shape.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, heels are not good for running. You need running shoes for that, Tony.
What are heels, Oliver? I don't think I've ever worn those.
You know, flip-flops are great in the summer, not so much in the winter. And so, you know, so you got to consider all of that, right? When you're buying a rod and so when you're running a business, you have to consider all of that. You know, what do people like and, you know, what do you want to put in front of them? And so one thing that I did was I looked at what everyone else offered. Phoenix was extra fast for the most part, and Seeker was extra slow for the most part. And because I fished all of them, I knew. And no knock on anybody. This is the way they decided to design rods. And so what a lot of people don't know is, amongst things before I started the company, I actually used to promote United Composite. I was part of the promo staff via my relationship with Pro Gear. Ishii restarted Pro Gear. I was one of the original Pro Gear users back in the day. And then, you know, when he went away, I switched over to Shimano, Trinidad, and then he came back because of the friendship. I thought about, you know, helping somebody out.
Yeah.
I knew the reels had issues, and then we were working through the issues. And I was giving him feedback on things we could do to improve those reels. Unfortunately, he had a heart attack at some point, and he decided to just back off from that. And so, because I was already involved in that, and we were designing rods under Pro Gear, after his heart attack and he decided he needed to back off, I was already, you know, money invested and ready to go. So that's when I started FS. But we used to promote United Composite, and I talked to Randy about a lot of stuff, a lot of the blanks. I went to Randy and I said, would you make me blanks, private label blanks? And there's a couple of rods that I really liked that Randy designed. And I said, we could take that and pivot from that. I want to change the action. I want to change the length. And Randy said, you know, I can't. I don't have the bandwidth. I can't even keep up with my own demand. So, you know, that's it. Sounds good, Randy. You know, I get it. And so I went to different companies, asking them to help me design my own blanks. Cousins, they said, nope. Went to Seeker. Seeker had just changed hands, you know, and so they didn't pick me up. Everybody just wanted me to buy their blanks and custom wrap them. Now, for the record, I am not a custom wrapper. People think you don't want me wrapping your rod. Believe me. Be grateful that I don't wrap your rods. You wouldn't know if it's an acid wrap or a spinner or what. I know how to design blanks. That I know. You know, and I hate to pat myself on the shoulder, but I think I'm pretty good at that. You know, I
I mean,
do
all,
the designing.
all while all these companies, I mean, there's no harm, no foul or anything like that. You still have good relationships.
Yeah, I
with
mean, look, I
everyone.
keep it cool with everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody keeps it cool with us.
You
And
kind of
that's
have to
okay.
in this industry.
You gotta have frenemies, man. That's
Frenemies.
it. They're frenemies. You know, you gotta keep it friendly, and
Yeah.
we're competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, perfect example, the guy who Takuma.
Davy Brown?
I keep it so cool with them
Yeah, actually,
because they keep it cool.
seen him last night. He told us to tell you hi.
Yeah, Dave, what's up, man? I love fishing with the guy. Every time we fish with him,
He's
we
awesome.
talk. Yeah, he
He's
is.
a great person.
And so we, never had any issues with Okuma.
Mhm.
Accurate made rods. I good friends with Ben. You could say that with Phoenix, it was, some of the guys looked down on us and they talked trash about us, and like, that's cool, whatever. And
Good kid on the block.
I kept it cool with, the people that matter.
Mhm.
I keep it cool with Randy, right? Some of the other companies,
Is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, their choice, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I have a business plan,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna let anybody get in the way of that, And so, but going back to the designing, to you look at those 80%ers, and that because that's your target audience. Now, when you get a 10%er, huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people comment like, "Oh yeah, dude, that 90J," and we get captains calling, "Hey, we'd like to get a 90J." Yeah, they get a captain discount. Trade discount. You know that.
Yeah.
And it's part of the industry.
Yeah.
And so, those are huge wins because those are the guys that those are the guys that the 80%ers look at.
Yeah.
I know I did. I would go to captains, I go to deckings and ask, what are you using? What do you recommend? And they'll be quick to tell you what, you should buy. And so, we're happy when we see that. And again, Danny Wade coming to me at a day of the docks saying, I really love that 90J. I just wish it was 10-footer.
Yeah.
We got on it, But, there's a lot of work that goes into it because you have to design these things. You got to talk to engineers who talk to the production people. I only talk to the engineers, and I'm happy with that. I don't need to talk to the production guys. I want the guy that understands what I'm looking for, and we have a pretty good rapport now. I mean, whenever I design something, like they're quick. Like, okay, yeah, we know what you want.
Yeah.
So right now, we're actually in the middle of designing 3, because they all come in 3s,
Right.
right? Light, medium, heavy. A 2-piece. First 2-piece I'm ever gonna design.
That's big.
8-foot, light, medium, heavy. So that when you travel, you can put that in the tube. Now, people want a travel rod, and what I do when they say, want a travel rod, I say, buy the Okuma rod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You want a 4-piece? Go to town.
Yeah.
It's gonna break, and that's okay. It's a travel rod. If you don't know how to use it properly, it's pretty inexpensive too. Come on, like
Yeah.
150, whatever.
So, yeah.
Yeah, ours not gonna be that inexpensive. Not gonna be cheap. But it's gonna be a graphite rod. We may layer some e-glass in there for flexibility. I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty, on everything we do. And that's being designed so that when you travel, you could throw those in the tube and
Yeah.
put them in the plane. And for those of you guys that don't know this, you could also just put it in a tube and ship it ahead of time,
Yeah.
especially if it's within the continental U.S. So, when I go to Hawaii, I ship my rods ahead of time, put them in a tube,
Yeah.
and then in my luggage goes the reels and the jigs. I'm always chasing the GTs over there.
Oh,
Still
okay.
chasing.
Still
Still
chasing.
chasing.
Yeah.
I found a couple of good spots. I was like, oh man, just. But I was given a couple of tips by a local. They said like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, I take poppers and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of big wins, I mean, you just dropped a bomb, hell, with the 2-piece rod coming out. But what are some exciting things coming up later half of this year and also going into 2025? Got any big plans
For the company
in general?
in general,
Yeah.
I mean, so the 10-footers we've been prototyping. We're already mass producing the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Those will be here in a few weeks. We got less of people calling for them, so we'll be putting those out
Nice.
soon. Both E-glass and S-glass. Why both? S-glass is so expensive. The E-glass makes it affordable for the guys that don't want to or can't spend over $500.
Yeah.
The difference between them, I get a lot of those questions. It's basically the elasticity. S-glass is more flexible. It's also a different material. So think of S-glass as your polyester. So it stretches more, but it's also more sensitive and more brittle. It just requires more care, right?
You get more feel out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Where the e-glass is think of it as your denim, cotton. It's a little heavier. The difference, someone commented this week, is that a CalStar blank? And again, I'm a guy that loves CalStars and learn a lot from Leon and, fishing CalStars for 20 years. It's not. We don't copy anybody. We go and design what we want the way we want it. And so we backed off of material. So when you compare 100J made by our 100J compared to anyone else,
The shed off is completely different
completely
too.
different.
Yeah.
Yep. So you feel that the weight in your hands is lighter. And then unlike other rods out there, which bend all the way down to your handle, we actually blended these differently so there's a shut off, almost like a composite. And it's like, how do you achieve that? What's how you, weave your material. And then we took it a step further with both jig sticks. We added a graphite reinforcement where the handle would be, or where your reel sits. So because we all know about jig sticks, where you over tighten that clamp and you crack the blank.
Yeah.
And so we did the same thing with the first ones. We cracked a few blanks. So we added a graphite reinforcement, where you clamp your reel, and it would take some really, really dumb things to do to crack that.
Yeah.
We test things. We test things for a long time before we release them. We're also making an affordable lineup. So this will be e-glass lineup. It's gonna have a little bit. I'm gonna share the secret. It's gonna have a little bit of graphite incorporated on the inside, which is gonna help to give it some power, stopping power, backbone, right? Because your graphite is bone, and your e-glass is muscle. I've been saying that for like 7 years. I'm hoping that people remember that.
Nice.
And your skin is that coat that goes on the blank. So we're gonna create that affordable lineup. I'm doing everything I can to get the right materials and the right components on that blank or that rod, so that it could retail $200. And that's with giving dealers their margins. And so, I think that'll cover. It'll be more of a bait stick than anything else, right?
Nice.
So, working on that. Samples should be here soon. Samples for the 2P should be here soon. Prototype, and we'll probably release them towards the end of the season next year. And for the shows, I'm hoping and planning to have the 10-foot rod, jig stick, the 100J, and I'm gonna let this one out of the bag. I'm also gonna make a 100J Junior, 1540. Yeah, that's gonna be a sick bait stick. And if you want to cast small tatty C's, right, smaller jigs.
Get 25-pound setup right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, imagine
You're
fishing.
dropping all kinds of bombs right now.
Hey,
I like
that's what we're
it.
here for.
I like it.
So we'll see that as well. I'm not planning on making a 100J Apex 40 to 80 just yet, but I already know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna have a few deckhands saying, "Hey, we want that rod. We wanna fight a bluefin on a 10-foot stick."
Right?
Like,
No.
okay,
Thank you.
it's a solid 60-pound rod. So
Better them than me.
Yeah. But listen, we got a 200-pounder on our 90J.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
private boater took a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a feat.
Yeah.
That was a feat. if he had his drag a little bit tighter, probably would have brought it in sooner. But he was using a Penn Fathom 25. I think it was either 30 or 40 pound line on that thing.
Jeez.
And he wasn't targeting that big fish.
Yeah.
Again, he came up on
That's
boils.
what happens.
And so for those of you guys out there listening, please listen. If you see bluefin boiling and you put your 20-pound line out there, you will get bit. You will also lose that fish.
Yeah.
If you put your bait caster out there, you will get bit, but you will lose that fish. So listen to your captains. You know, they always tell you 40 or 50.
Yeah.
You know, and sure, we want to get bit, and we know bluefin gets finicky. But he's fishing, he comes up on a school of fish, and puts a line out there with a live bait. And of course, a 200-pounder picked up the bait.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Good thing he was on a private boat.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
So yeah, man, looking forward to next year.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have a nice open house on Sunday, give people tours. GT's gonna have a grand opening. So now that he's running a tackle shop, he's the dealer right now that carries all of our product. You know, some dealers are starting to catch up slowly. Turner's is carrying 9 different rods out of the 40 plus that we make. But they're already talking about, you know, bringing in more.
That's cool.
We got time. Time's on our side.
Yeah.
We'll see, you know, where it all goes.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna love this stuff and some are not, and that's okay. You know, we'll see you around the block.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Oliver, thank you so much for coming in, man. I really do appreciate you coming in studio and sharing all these, again, dropping so many bombs that I've just, so many questions, but for another time for sure.
Yeah.
Give us one more time. How do we get in contact with you? How do we get to the store? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So visit the website, right? www.fishingsyndicate.com. Social media and email are the best ways to communicate with us. We don't have a receptionist there ready to pick up the phone at the production center.
That's coming in like year 12 of your plan?
Yeah, and you know what? We need people working.
Yeah.
And we have a rep for you dealers, Cesar Chang. He's doing his rounds. He's visiting everybody. In fact, he's opening up a new dealer today.
Nice.
And you know, expect more dealers to come on between now and the end of the year. You know, for those that are used to walking in, buying directly from us, we yielded that space to GT so they can go and buy from him. You know, you can still order your custom rods from him. He's also going to carry the factory rods, and now he's going to sell reels and tackle.
Nice.
So
It's a tackle store.
it's a tackle store, yeah.
It's cool.
And so
And then this Sunday is the grand opening.
his grand opening, you
Nice.
know, and we help all of our dealers with their open houses. We had one last weekend in Santa Maria. Been there, done that. Been there, cut that. My
Yeah.
bad. Been there, cut that. Fernando over there just took over that. And so he's carrying the product, and we went out there to support him. Copes, you know, we couldn't make their Fishapalooza tomorrow. But you know, we were there the last couple of years. We supported them, and we'll
That's been a
continue.
good event.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to be up there the last couple of years
Same.
as well, but
yeah, we just got busy.
yeah,
You know,
it's the way it is.
you know, Seth, good guy up there, and we'll keep supporting them. And so, you know, you want to come see what we do, make an appointment because it's really only by appointment.
Yeah.
But GT's there in case you want to go pull on everything that we make. He carries the stuff, and he's at the same location where we were at for 5 years.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah,
Very cool, man.
appreciate you guys having me, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in. I'm so stoked for you, man. I really
Appreciate
am. It's gonna be awesome. Here's to the next 7 years and beyond,
Yeah,
for sure.
appreciate it.
Thanks for everything you do for CCA too. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Tony, Darren, fascinating episode once again from a great friend.
As always.
Have you used the 90J yet?
I think so.
So I have the
think
100J.
Okay.
And it completely changed fishing the surface iron for me. I had such a blast fishing the islands a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, whenever that was. And I don't think I've ever caught as many yellowtail as I have on a 10-foot rod.
That didn't hurt you.
I mean, by by the 6th or 7th fish, I was hurting a
Yeah.
little bit.
That'll do
I
it.
was
No.
hurting a little bit.
Oh,
That's
how
so
much
much lighter
progress.
though. So much
Yeah.
lighter than everything else.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to touch on how much I really enjoyed that 100J is even my 90J it's not an FS 90J, but I felt like I had to put so much energy into casting that rod and then using the 100J. I felt like I can use 70% to cast it out, and it was going as far, if not farther. So I'm totally stoked with that 100J.
Stoked to hear that it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, that is going to do it for this edition of the CCA California podcast. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at CCA California. Make sure to go like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. And with that, we will see you guys next week. Take care.